So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you are in the world. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to this Friday's sharing of Harmonize to Energize. My name is Terry Matthews. I used to work for Jin Shin Jyutsu Incorporated. I'm now self-employed working for Mary Burmeister Jin Shin Jyutsu. So anyway, today, as always, we'll be doing our practices, self-help practices to harmonize energy fields within us and without in order to boost our energy. So, particular warm welcome to anyone who's brand new to Jin Shin Jyutsu. Sometimes it's interpreted as the art of the creator through compassionate man, but I prefer to say the art of the creator through compassionate human. So we're not going to be sexist here, right? So Jin Shin Jyutsu is a way of harmonizing life force or chi or ki as it travels congruently or not through our bodies. And it does that through energy pathways. And there are several of them, in other words, many, that transit the body, some vertically, some horizontally, some at diagonals, and they all meet at different places. And these meeting points are sometimes called safety energy locks. There's 26 of them, left and right of our spine. Each has a particular function, a particular name. And they act as controllers, if you like, or ways of allowing energy to flow more congruently. If there's too much, it reduces that amount of energy going through. If there's too little, it increases. So it's like a lock and a canal. Lets in more or reduces. And as we do that, we place our hands, palms, back of hands or fingers or thumbs on these safety energy locks in order to facilitate this. So, how are you all? Are you doing well? Are you well? Are you good? Excellent. So let's just spend a minute or two connecting to one another within the field that we're creating by simply being here. Just sit up as straight as you can. If you have difficulty with your back in any place, you can always put a cush behind you to support you. And just let your shoulders drop. And you may want to drop your head slightly in a bow. This opens up safety energy lock 4, where the energy of light, or one of the main entry points for the energy of light, is. And as we let go or exhale, energy moves from that safety energy lock 4 down the front of our body to our hip line and to our big toes, and then from our big toes back through the hip line, up the back to safety energy lock 4. Another way of remembering safety energy lock 4 is the occiput, those two bony protuberances at the base of the skull there. So connect at that frequency, at that position, and just relax those shoulders. And if a smile comes, that's great. And just see what you're feeling. Normally we feel through our heart center, middle 13, middle safety energy lock 13. Sometimes though, there's blockages there. Not to worry, that's why we practice Jin Shin Jyutsu. But when we're in a stronger field, meaning there are more of us, the energy around us is increased and any blockages are further helped. There's an extra boost where many are gathered, or the 1% effect, or the 100th monkey effect, just increasing the dimension, frequency, and vibration of the energy. And there are different dimensions. We call them depths. And these different dimensions just connect us to different organ functions, different relationships within our soul, heart, mind, and body. So we're a multi-faceted and multi-dimensional being. That sounds a bit wordy. Just think about we are one. We all have a oneness within us that moves through different energy fields, which are collectively united. And if you can feel that unity, then we are one. Sometimes it helps to place a hand on the heart, middle, safety energy lock 3 to connect. That will bring us more energy there if we're tired. Or if there's some emotional static, meaning a worry, a fear, some anger, frustration, some sadness, perhaps, or some anxiety or try to. When these emotions become too regular, they become embedded, and it becomes more of a challenge to harmonize them. But we can do this with our breath and our hands and fingers. So no worries. See if you can feel peace. Don't worry if you can't, but see if peace naturally arises in this energy field. And it's a good place to begin. It's a harmonic that's very helpful. Okay, good. So, those of you that have been following the past 2 or 3 weeks will know, when I remember to record it, that we've been talking about the order of creation, which Mary teaches or taught through her textbooks. And in Self-Help Book 3, it's on page 28. And I skipped a beat and went to number 4, fifth depth, little finger, last week. Nothing wrong with that. It's always good to go to the heart. We're going to go back one to first depth, or number 3 here in the list, which is the guardian, if you like, the reciprocator of organ function energies, stomach and spleen, and all what that means. What does it mean? Well, it means many things according to whatever relationship you can cue into or clue into at the time. In Walter Rodriguez Krause's cards, those of you that are familiar with Walter, she created Health is in Your Hands. Plug, plug, plug. And she has some very useful summaries of the depths and all the organ functions and various other relationships, which if you're completely new to Jin Shin Jyutsu, it may serve you well. Anyway, Walter talks about first depth, formed after second depth. The first depth corresponds to the energy body of the physical body, the sacred temple where the soul lives. Interesting. The correlated planet is Saturn, guardian of the threshold. It confines us to this body and forms the surface skin. surface skin. So the first depth strengthens tissue and holds the organs in place. That is a particular role of the spleen energy, actually, which is part of first depth. Okay, the first depth is linked to childhood, which is about being nurtured on every level through parental love, the world's solicitude, and not the least, nourishment. This phase is important for developing a healthy self-esteem, as well as love, empathy, and sympathy. The first depth is linked to physical growth. It transforms nutritional energy into bodily energy. Here, disharmony between stomach, spleen, and pancreas tend to arise. But of course, we know there are ways of harmonizing disharmonies, do we not? And the way I do that on this particular webinar is we work with very simple practices using the concept of the 9x4 breaths, or 36 breaths, which Mary Burmeister taught. If any of you aren't fully aware, the 36 breaths was really just to help people clue into the energy as it transforms from subtler realms to denser realms. So Mary would talk about the first set of 9, moving from the source, the 8th depth, second set to the light, the 7th depth, the third set to the 6th depth, the body beginning to take form. It's like the blueprint of the body to be. And then third depth, where the body is actually manifest. So it was her way of showing us how energy transforms through those different levels, those different dimensions. But number 9 in numerology represents end of a cycle, beginning of a new. So happily enough, those relationships meld well together. So we can do this starting with the representation, the simple representation of harmonizing the first depth, which is what some children have done and may continue to do, hold their thumbs or suck their thumbs. And Mary would always say, don't stop a child when they're doing sucking thumb or whatever. That's a message to you. That's a flag that maybe their spleen or stomach needs support. So then you could work if you knew, or you could help if you knew them to harmonize first step, stomach and spleen. So that will be the first practice we'll do. I believe once an instructor had everybody sucking their thumbs. We're not going to do that. I believe it did happen. It did. But we'll have you holding. And just to remember or to relate, each finger digit is subdivided into 3 sections: bust line, waistline, and hip line. So when you investigate the sides of the fingers or around the fingers, some of them may be more tender than the others. So holding the thumb, you can go to the side and see if the left thumb, there's any areas that feel more tender, and then the right thumb. And then you can maybe choose to hold that for the exercise, where we exhale and inhale for 9 breaths. And then the second practice we'll do is the first step of the stomach flow. And there's a left and a right flow. And I'll start with the left, and your right hand will go under your cheekbone on safety engine lock 21, and the left hand will go, safety engine lock, and the left hand goes on safety engine lock 22, or you swap over, and the left hand goes here on the right 22, and the left hand goes on the, right 21, left, right 22. This is being recorded. And then the first step of the spleen flow, those of you that are familiar with the spleen flow will know that in Self-Help Book 1, Mary gave steps starting on safety engine lock number 5, the heel, if it's the right side flow, the right hand went on to safety engine lock 5, which was the inside heel, and then the left hand would go on the coccyx if it was the right flow, or vice versa if it was the left flow, right hand on coccyx, left hand on that safety engine lock 5. But she also put circles with crosses on them for other places which are on that flow line. So you could start on safety energy lock number 1, which is the inside of the left or right knee. And she also placed it on the pube, which means you could start on the pube. In other words, be flexible. Don't stretch if it's going to hurt. Just choose one of those positions. And then finally, as we always love to do, we hug ourselves. And here are the thumbs again, those first step thumbs, holding safety energy lock 22 here, which are part of the spleen and stomach flow. And the fingers going to the edge of the shoulder blade, which is small intestine points, and you hold them together, or you can take one hand away and place it in your groin area if it's more comfortable. All right. Hopefully that's clear. Hopefully we have no questions. Let's have a look in the chat room. Once upon a time, I had time to do slides. Perhaps I will start doing them again. We shall see. Anyway, let us begin. Sitting up straight as you can, dropping your shoulders. You can just nod your head slightly, bow to open up the fours. And as we exhale and inhale, we're not doing any specific breathing technique. It's what comes natural to you. But I would like you to be contemplating the idea of energy moving down the front of the body in a spiral, all the way through the groin area, to the toes, to the earth, in a positive spiral, clockwise. And then as it returns in a positive spiral. Positive spirals bring the uplifting frequency of life to us. It's that simple. The universe is based on very simple relationships. That's one of them. And the more we move with a positive flow, the more energy can move through blockages and the more it can harmonize, just like positive thinking. A positive thought is more harmonious than a negative thought. It's not that you don't have negative thoughts and you shouldn't have. It's just that it's better not to dwell on them because they will eventually create blockages. So we have this concept of thoughts, words, and deeds. And our teacher, Mary Burmeister, was very cognizant of the effect of our thoughts, words, and deeds. So as you begin any exercise, just notice how you're feeling, because normally feeling precedes thought. So if there's a little bit of awkward feeling, just remember you can let it go. And this is a practice to help you do that. So choose left or right thumb. And the attitude that the thumb will harmonize here is worry, by the way. And you can place it in the middle of your groin, center of your groin like this if you want. Close your eyes, stun your cell phones, be as least distracted as possible. Your environment is very important. Your inner environment and your outer environment. So as little distraction as possible. Dropping those shoulders, breathe out. And let the energy spiral down to your big toe via the 15s in the groin. As it reaches the big toe, feel your connection with the earth beneath. And first depth, spleen, stomach, is the earth element. So we have a strong connection here with Mother Nature, the nurturer. It helps us by nurturing our stomach, our spleen, and our thinking. Thoughts. Our mind, when we churn things over, it's just like the stomach churning things over. Inhale naturally. The energy comes back up from the earth through the big toe, through the 15 and safety energy lock 2, which is the top of the sacroiliac joint there at the back, and all the way returns to the 4. That's one breath. 8 more times. Here we go. And just let all those worries slide off your shoulders, go through the 15 hip line, the bridge, filling your heart with joy and laughter, then reaching the 7, victory, perfect life power, before returning up the back to safety energy lock 4, the window that lets in more light. And that's what we like. We like more light. Well, at least I do. And that light, it's moving through energy pathways, through energy locks, and it's releasing stuck energy. As we exhale, our cells let go of matter they no longer need. And as we inhale, we draw in energy into the cells. So the cells are breathing in the same way. They exhale and inhale. They let go and they receive. Kind of comforting to know our body works to support us. And how important the breath is. The breath of life, the big breath of life. Facilitated by the little breath of life, the lungs. The heat from which enhances the digestive ability of the stomach and spleen. So as you reach the 9th exhalation, inhalation, just slip into what I call the neutral zone and become the observer, the witness to how you feel, where you feel. Maybe your stomach and spleen are a little bit more lively or not. No judgment. Just be aware. First step helps us set boundaries, skin surface. So maybe memories might surface about when you've allowed your boundaries to be too fluid. Don't worry. You're now strengthening them where they need to be, and you're loosening them where they need to be. And ultimately, you're harmonizing them so they just act naturally. Okay. Second set of 9, first step of the stomach flow. If it's a left flow, your right hand's going to go on the left cheekbone here, underneath. Right to left, and left on the left 22, which is just under the collarbone. If it's a right flow, your left hand's going to go on the right, under the right cheekbone, and your right hand is going to go under the right 22. So just check. One side may be fuller than the other, feels a bit dense, then that's the one you hold. And if you're like me, got big hands, you put your thumb on the other 21. It's a good way of stopping someone speaking. Here we go. Breathing out, drop shoulders if you can. Feel the energy moving down all the way to the feet. And as you inhale, naturally receive the breath, the ascending breath, moving up the back. To begin again, 8 more times. First step of any flow is a self-help, and this first step will help clear the sinuses, this first step of the stomach flow. It helps release mental bondage. Sometimes see people doing this when they're in a lecture and they're not terribly enthusiastic. This is helping them release those kinds of thoughts, opening up their consciousness. First step flows are probably very helpful for people who are said to be empathic, because sometimes their boundaries are very fluid and they take in all kinds of signals from around them. And sometimes there's not sufficient discernment to prevent some of the unhealthy energies from entering their energy field. Do a stomach or spleen flow. Strengthen your boundaries. Stomach and spleen also support the immune system, support the lungs, large intestine. So in the era of COVID-19, these flows would be helpful. In fact, they govern the lymph system. Which those of you that have studied anything to do with human anatomy and physiology and pathology will know helps us get rid of toxins in the body, lymphocytes. And as you come to the 9th exhalation, inhalation, again, just slip into neutral and observe how you feel. And you may at this point either leave the hands where they are or just relax them. Just observe what happened during that second set of the 9 exhalation inhalations, if anything happened. Maybe your metabolic rate has slowed down even further. It's a healthy thing when we want to relax. We don't want anxiety and worries sped up. So the next practice of 9 exhalation inhalations will be the first step of the spleen flow. Now, as I said, for instance, if you're doing the right flow, the left hand's going to go on the coccyx, the back here. And the right hand can either start at the inside right ankle or the inside right knee or the pube like that, and vice versa. So if it's the left flow, you start with the right hand on the coccyx, the left hand on safety engine lock 5 or 1. So 5 is the inside ankle, calcaneus, and then 1 is the inside of the knee or the hands on the pube. Whatever you find, as you notice in Self-Help Book 1, Mary gives you that choice. And when you've made your mind up where you're going to begin, let us begin. Closing your eyes, drop shoulders, feel your connection with the ground beneath through your feet. Mother Nature, first step, stomach and spleen, earth element. Grounding. Let all the things you don't need to worry about go. Breathe through them and out. And then receive the breath, cosmic purified energy naturally, and allow it to ascend the back of your body. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, we can, after a time, or maybe even straight away, feel a pulsation like you would at the radial artery at the places where your hands are. If you do feel this in both places where the hands are, that's a good sign. That means the blood is flowing well. And if the blood is flowing well, that means the energy is flowing, because blood follows energy. Not to worry if you don't feel that straight away. Just a reminder, maybe you need to clear that energy, clear that area further, so you can go back to it later. Now, some of you may notice you get extra saliva. Well, the stomach and spleen govern the salivary organs, so don't be surprised. Swallow it. It actually contains all the nutrients that you need. And if you ever don't have any water handy and you're thirsty, you can excite the salivary glands with your tongue, which is also governed by the spleen, by just swishing it around the roof of your mouth. That will create saliva. Swallow it. The other types of liquids that you might experience, especially when you're doing the stomach flow, clearing the 21 under the cheekbone, is mucus. That again is connected to the spleen, and that is when the spleen is not functioning as harmoniously as it could. And so instead of sending a fine spray to the lungs, it actually sends more like a swampy, boggy type mucoside substance. Mucus. So that's another sign that your spleen needs harmonizing. Anyway. The land of milk and honey, the land of Canaan, is in your mouth, because that liquid that you may or may not feel kind of tastes like honey. And some people call it amritam or amritam. It's the honey of, well, let's just say the universe. Spleen is a secondary source of energy, allowing the solar energy from the sun to come through somewhere between the umbilicus and the 15, moves up to the spleen and then to the heart. So those of you that are familiar with the lumbar circle, the spleen will unburden the kidneys and the heart. So if you're feeling a little anxious and down, a little fearful, you could actually do a spleen flow or a stomach flow. That's why Mary puts it in Self-Help Book 1, you know. It's a great harmonizer and a great cleanser. Feel that connection with the earth element, deep connecting the earth. Stomach energy goes all the way through the middle 3 toes, and spleen starts actually on the outside of the big toe. So we really are seeing how the toes connect to earth here. Spleen is one of the regeneration flows. Stomach allows liquefied grain and oxygen to circulate down through the body and release through the middle toe. Anyone who gets migraines, or however you pronounce it, hold your middle toe. Okay, when you reach the 9th exhalation, inhalation, just pause, slip into neutral, and observe how you feel, where you be. You're on an endless journey, actually. Journey of the breath. Even when you don't appear to be breathing, something else is breathing you. Those moments of deep sleep, deep rest, some people are not aware that they're breathing. What in fact happens is everything slows down. So the small breath, the lungs are not having to do their job so much. and it relaxes all the muscles in the body, and it allows the light to come in and do a much deeper clearing of the energy field and help transform your frequency. This is what happens in heightened states of awareness, meditation, whatever. Some doctors may be concerned if you have very low blood pressure. If you meditate a lot, you do Jin Shin a lot, that might be quite normal. So the fourth and final practice will be the hug. Thumbs under the shoulder girdle, the 22s, fingers to the side of the shoulder girdle, left and right, or just the left or just the right. Keeping back as straight as possible. Drop shoulders. Let go. And receive. 8 more times. Worry be gone. Mary would say if the thumb was in harmony, stomach and spleen energy, also lung, by the way, all the other organ function energies and relationships would stay in harmony. Leader of the band, I believe she called the thumb. And, you know, the 36 breaths is not a rigid protocol. You can continue, you can do, you know, variations on a theme. So you can do multiples of 9, if that helps you. But really, it's about letting go to grow, purify, and harmonize, and ultimately energize. So when you finish that final exhalation, inhalation in this position, well done. You've been on a journey of 36 breaths. See how you feel. Has anyone got a birthday today or had a birthday recently? Because actually, stomach relates to the astrological sign Gemini and spleen Cancerian. So if there's anyone amongst you all who wants to be brave enough, not me, I've had my birthday. Yes, I'm a water sign, I'm a Cancerian, but anybody else who's a Gemini? Is that Wera? No? Say something, Wera. Unmute yourself.
Just cleaning my glasses.
Oh.
Sorry.
No, it's perfect. Oh, Susan? All right. Okay, perfect. Let's find you, Susan. I'm going to invite you to start your video. Oh, there you are.
Hello.
Hello. Here we go. And I'm going to invite you to. There you are. Well done. Susan, where are you from?
I'm from Germany. I'm from Tutzing, which is near Munich in the south of Germany.
Welcome.
Thank you.
What time is it out there? About 9 o'clock in the evening or early?
Right, almost, yes.
Echo.
I don't know why. I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's okay. So, everybody, those of you that are not familiar with this approach, here is an opportunity after we have received 36 breaths to give back. And we have a guest here who's recently celebrated her birthday. So we're going to join in her fun by giving her a gift. The gift is our harmony. We're going to show and connect at the level of harmony, which really is centered in the heart. And then you can place your hands like this. The center of the palm of the hand represents source energy or safety energy lock 26, all complete. And you don't have to try. You just relax, just like we did. You exhale. And as you exhale, you let go. And Susan will receive. Susan, can you place your hands in your groin in your 15s?
I can.
There you go. And sit up as near as straight as you can. And everyone, we're all going to connect together in the circle, little finger to little finger, thumb to thumb. And we're going to just allow the energy from us to jump a cable to Susan as if we were actually giving a treatment. If it helps you to count out your 9 breaths, otherwise, just relax in the moment. And connect heart to heart with Susan. Show us the harmony for Susan. And naturally, the energy knows where it needs to go. You don't have to try. We allow the universal energy to flow through us to Susan and back from Susan to us. The theory and practice. So maybe the energy is flowing through Susan's spleen pathway, stomach pathway, or any of the pathways where it needs to be. Susan may or may not register pulsation. It's all good. And remember, as you give, to have that connection with the earth, with your feet, as well as with your head, heaven, the head, the force, allowing that energy, full body energy. Feel the wholeness, the oneness. It's not just your hands that are allowing the energy, it's your whole body. Your whole body. Energy comes through the pores of the skin, which of course is first step. Enters and exits through the skin. And just like if you were holding Susan's safety energy locks, you will maybe feel in the palms of your hands some kind of signal that tells you that's drawing to the close of this practice. The energy has completed what it needs to do. Those of you that are familiar with remote Jin Shin Jyutsu or any other kind of remote healing work will know this. And then just draw your hands together, palm to palm like this. Mary gives this prayer position in Self-Help Book 1. And it was something she always used to, I noticed she always used to do after she completed a treatment. You would see her, she would come out of the office, her hands in the prayer position. And if you didn't hear her say it, you knew she was saying, thank you. Thank you. So thank you, Susan, for allowing us to offer some of the energy that we received from the practices, perhaps, and for you to celebrate your month, your birthday, with us in the group. So thank you. How do you feel?
Well, that was awesome. I mean, it was very intense. I felt the energy moving in the bust line through the 13 area. And when you said, well, maybe you feel in the palm of your hands that it's complete. I did not feel anything in the 13th, in the bust line area anymore, but I felt it in the palm of my hands. So that was really very special. Thank you to all of you. That was great. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's our honor. Well, it's definitely my honor. So everybody, thank you for joining us again. And I appreciate your support, and have a good rest of the day, whatever it is you're doing. I would recommend, some of you may already be at that time of day when you're going to rest anyway, but I would recommend don't jump up too quickly after these practices, because it can kind of spill the milk. And we want to keep as much as possible that harmony, all right? That harmony constant, which will bring us through maybe for the next 8 hours or so, or longer, in a more harmonized, harmonic way, whichever word you want to use. So bless you all. And thank you all. And I will be here, and hopefully I'm going to be able to gather somebody to come on and join us. And which reminds me, if any of you want to come on and join me as a mystery guest, we don't tell everybody until the day, and share any of your stories about Jin Shin Jyutsu, that would be wonderful. Don't be shy. It can feel as though everyone's just looking at you. They're not. Well, they might be. It depends what you're doing. But generally speaking, they're not. They're just doing their best to connect. So if you have some stories, drop me a line. You can drop me a line at h2energize at gmail.com. Those of you that don't know that, I'll just type it quickly. H2N at gmail.com. Yeah, just drop me a line there, and we'll see. So that's it from me. Have a beautiful rest of the day. And I'm going to stop the recording before I forget.